Hello and welcome to the Health Bridge podcast. I'm your host, Holly B. Today, I have a really great conversation with Shedrica Holmes. Shedrica is a mama, a lupus warrior, and the voice behind Lupus Speaks and Chronically Planned. Shedrica has been living with lupus since 2008, and over the years, she's learned how to stop just surviving and start creating a life that actually works for her, one that is rooted in faith, flexibility, and purpose. Through her podcast, her workshops, and digital tools, she helps other women, especially chronic illness warriors, figure out how to plan their lives around real energy, not hustle, and still show up for what matters most. Whether it's building a business, advocating for their health, or just making it through a flare with grace, she's all about keeping it real and making space for healing and impact. Shadrika is someone who I've been getting to know over the last few months, and I just love her joyful approach to living with lupus, to being a chronicpreneur, as she calls it, and to creating a life that can flow with her chronic illness rather than continually butt up against it. And I love that she is helping other women do the same thing through her Chronically Planned platform, of which I am now a part of. I've been working with her just over the last few weeks, and I'm really enjoying her community. So, in this conversation, we get to know Shadrika. We hear about her lupus journey and her experience and how she has learned to really move through her lupus journey with faith, with planning, and with just creating a vision for her future and the things that she wants to express into the world. So, in this conversation, we talk about how to create more flow in business, how to hold your vision for what you want to express in the world, even when life feels really heavy, even when you are going through a flare, and how we may have to let go of certain things in our life in order to create that vision and bring it into fruition. We might have to shift our health habits. We might have to shift our relationships. We might have to learn how to think about and approach things in a different way in order to become the person that can create that vision. So, in this inspiring conversation, we start out by talking about celebrating our life experiences. And I know that you're going to be inspired by this conversation, whether you have a chronic illness or not, whether you are an entrepreneur or not. There are so many just positive takeaways from this conversation that you can apply to your life, no matter what part of life you are in. And before we start, I would love to ask you to just take a quick second to like and subscribe to this podcast, because that is, again, how we grow the podcast, how we get in front of more eyes and ears and expose people to the possibilities that are really here when it comes to empowerment in your own health and life journey. Thank you for doing that. And now let's get into the episode. Shadrika, welcome to the podcast. We have gotten to know each other a little bit over the last couple months, and I am just thrilled to have you here. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm
I want
excited to
to.
have this conversation.
So, you are a fellow lupus sister, and we're going to definitely get into your story. Um, but I want to start by asking you, why is it that you celebrate having lupus?
It's not necessarily me celebrating having lupus. It's me celebrating the life that I have with lupus. So it's not like it's not a overly hyped situation. It's just more. It is something to celebrate. It is. I get to share my story. It is just something about having this experience is something to celebrate because of what I can do with it. So I feel like that's why, because why not? We can celebrate anything we want to.
Well, I love that approach to life, is that it should be a celebration even in the tough times. because we can learn things from those hard times. And the thing with lupus is, or any chronic illness or any major life altering change, is that we oftentimes start out by saying, I just want to get back to normal. I just want to get back to how things were. But when we look at it that way, we're trying to get back to the things that led up to this illness occurring. So
Yeah,
we
you
don't want to
living
go
on the
backwards.
past, that past experience. And it's like you have to have a new light on what life is like with this condition and reflecting on the past, it keeps you sad.
It does. It keeps you sad, it keeps you stuck. And so it's like, who were we before? But now who can we become through this illness, right? You were speaking recently at our last meeting about who you're becoming.
Chronically becoming.
Yes.
That's my book title, by the way. So don't nobody take it.
I love it. Expand on that more. What does chronically becoming mean to you?
Chronically becoming is basically what I started with, celebrating life with the condition. And it's not saying that it's this mindset of where people can remove, or heal, or it's everything. It's just that I'm becoming, but I am. When I say chronically, it's the definition of the word of like obsessively doing something, And it's like I'm excessively going to live my life regardless of this condition, illness, whatever you want to call it. This experience is what I call it. It's a journey. Like you're never gonna always like for me, becoming is never really an end. It's always evolving. It's always changing. It's always, I don't want to be my 25-year-old self. I don't want to be my 35-year-old self. I'm in this pushing this 40 phase, and I'm like, okay. So I'm always becoming something different and I don't want to be what I used to be. I want to learn. I want to have use my wisdom from these experiences and become better. So chronically becoming because it never ends. It's always going.
I love
That's for
that.
me.
Yeah, we're constantly evolving and growing should we choose, right? We can choose stuck or we can choose growth.
Yes,
So I
ma'am.
love that. Yeah, I love that approach. Tell us more about your lupus journey. When did it start and how have you have moved through it?
Child. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what kind of podcast this is, but I'm gonna just be so real.
Please do.
It started from man. And I take that back because that's me, putting blame on a person or a situation. But I'll say this from what I know now, it is neglecting my own well being, caring and giving more than what I should. Loving harder and inexperienced in love in a way that wasn't healthy. Not setting boundaries, not respecting myself, not having the worth that I needed to have in order to sustain myself emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So that lack caused me to my body to respond and alert me that something was going on. So I feel like that's where it started. It definitely trickled down in some experiences that I did not think would happen. I never heard of lupus before. So it was definitely not even a shocker because even when I was getting this diagnosis, um, I went with the boyfriend that I had at the time. I went with his mother. She took off of her job to take me because she could realize that something was wrong, like something was making me sick, but she just didn't know what it was. So she took me and I got a diagnosis that day. And this was just a regular urgent care. Um, and they said it was lupus, and she just said, "Oh no," and I was lupus, like I got the cooties, what's going on? Like I didn't know what it was, and even just at that time, this was 2008. Um, even back then, the library really didn't have books with a lot of information about lupus, so it was very hard for me to like understand. And even knowing what I know now, reading about it doesn't give you a glimpse of what it actually is to live through it. But long story short, I got my diagnosis. I did not take it seriously because I didn't understand what I was about to get. You know, I didn't take my medicine. I didn't. really pay attention to the signs of what my body was telling me to do. So I suffered a lot. I got to the point where I couldn't speak. I wasn't able to talk at all. I wasn't able to walk. I had to go through different types of therapies, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, just to obtain everything back. I was pretty much in hospice care because I was just so sick and malnutrition. I got down to like 80 pounds. Um, so that was like the experience of the worst of it. And still to this day, I don't think it's the worst of it because I also experienced chronic highs. And to me, that's worse because that internal itch that you cannot scratch, I wish that on no one. The skin burning and being on fire, I wish that on no one. Because anything that touches you, it's just like unbearable. But I mean, I've experienced the joint pain, the hair loss, the weight gain from prednisone, the deterioration of your bones. So it's just been a journey. I done been 180 pounds to 110. Like, it just fluctuates. But I still find beauty in it.
That is that's a long journey, and you've been experiencing. When did you get your diagnosis?
October 2008. October the 15th, 2008.
2008. Yeah, so that's all you're closing in on 20 years now.
Mhm,
What's different about your story is you got a diagnosis really quick,
mhm.
which is something I don't hear often. Usually people take 5, 6, 7 years to get that diagnosis.
I find it very profound as well because I feel like, how did he even know to test for that? Like, how did he know that the symptoms that I was giving? So, kudos to that, urgent care doctor who just knew what I was sharing and was able to, like, let me get her ANA. I mean, because that's the only way I have the ANA test, results from that day. So, that was, it didn't take long at all. But I did suffer, maybe like a year before that was just signs of just like I was saying, the highs and the skin itching, the hair loss, the weight loss. So I was like already going through it. But when I did go to doctors, they would just be like, "Oh, she just has eczema, or she has, something like this and that." So they were just treating my symptoms. They weren't really helping me get through what was actually like making me itch. So
Right.
yeah,
They weren't trying to get to the root cause, they just treated it as a surface level symptom. Yeah.
yeah.
Very common, unfortunately, but I think that's a blessing that you were able to get a diagnosis so quick when you finally went to seek out that help.
Yeah.
Um, have you always been a passionate, creative, entrepreneurial-minded woman?
Yes and no. I say yes because I've always the way God made me, I'm very passionate about giving. And so I always been the person that share information or girl, let me tell you what, I never like gatekeep anything. I always was a share like even in school, they would be like, I know Shedrica got the note. I was always like the paper and pen girl. Like I always just like to write stuff down and be super organized with my pens and colors. Like I saw this thing like this has been so long ago, but it used to say if you have time to fold your panties, then you got too much time in your hands. But I will literally fold my panties. I will put them in color quarter. I will organize my closet like that, like my clothes is by the color. Because in my mind, that's how it works.
I love
I've
that.
always been like passionate about what I. It's like if you're gonna do something, give your best every single time. So yes, I've always been like that. But then I've had my moments where I'm like, man, this sucks. I don't want to do that. Whatever. But I feel like it's not even that I feel. I know that being a mother changed that and made it more driven to be more intentional about the things that I do, how I think, how I plan, how I visualize, when I speak. It's it's different.
And you feel that lupus has brought more of that out in you as well? Or how has lupus, I guess, affected the way you go about life and the way you do the things that you're passionate about doing? really quick, Holly B here. I just wanted to interrupt the podcast to ask you for a quick favor. Can you take just a moment to like and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you are listening in on? It makes a world of a difference. And the reach of this podcast, it takes like literally under 10 seconds. So go do that right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And now back to the episode.
I think that lupus definitely it gave me something, because I never okay, so you know how people grow up and they're like, "Oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a school person." My answer was always, "I want to be a mom." Um, but my father, he used to tell me that when I was younger, that you're going to be a speaker or that you're going to be a news anchor. You're going to be on TV. You're going to be all these things. And I never saw that for myself. I don't know. I do remember what I wanted to be. I wanted to be interior decorator, but I never thought that it would take me like what lupus has given me. I didn't never see like what it could do. Like I just knew that I wanted to do something because I like to give, I like to share. So that's kind of like where my podcast came from because I was like, I'm just gonna tell people what it's really like. And it just kind of went from there.
And so now you are essentially on TV, so to speak, with this podcast. I
Hmm.
love that. So your father saw that vision and
Yep.
saw that it would come out. Love
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Love it. So your mother, that's I don't have kids. So to me, that is like mind-bogglingly challenging to plan anything around having kids and all the daily activities. I have a chihuahua and that takes enough of my energy. Like I can't even imagine adding on to that, right? And I'm laughing at myself as I say that, but it's kind of true. Just keeping up with daily life as it is, cooking, cleaning, going to the grocery store, walking the dog, add kids on top of that. You've got two other lives, or however many kids you have, you got multiple other lives that you have to manage. And if you're passionate, you have, whatever entrepreneurial journey you're on, or whatever creative journey you're on in life, whatever your passions are, they can fall to the wayside so easily. And that's without even having a chronic illness. I'd love
Yeah.
kind of talk about how you use being chronically planned to create more flow and success and ease in your life and um what a difference it's made for you in your journey.
Well, being chronically planned is essential because, as you can see, I got a lot going on. So, if I do not have my paper planner, my phone, some type of digital something, some type of plan, it's gonna be chaos. I'm not gonna be on time. I'm not gonna know what we eating. I'm not gonna know how I felt or thought yesterday. I need to be chronically planned, obsessively planned. I need to budget. I need to content plan. I need to like it's crazy. But I'm able to produce. I'm able to execute because I have these plans set up because my brain only works like that. Like me being unplanned, me not apparently because I didn't plan my content for June because I'm distracted a little. I haven't missed it. But if I have a plan, I execute. So it's essential in my life to stay on top of my goals, my dreams, just even my chores. Like, okay, today is laundry day. Today I need to get these dishes out the dishwasher and reload the dish. Like it's very detailed, but otherwise I would lay around. I would. I would lay around because I don't feel like there is something that I need to really do. But if I have a plan, even if I really, have a plan and it doesn't go as planned, that's still okay. But the intention is still there. So I always ask myself, what can I do from here? And then I would just try to implement that. But it's essential. It's a tool. And that even planning is a process. It's a journey. It's a journey of becoming because you can start one way with just a thought or a concept. And then it ends up, once you plan it, it ends up being a real tangible thing. That idea is no longer idea. It is a real access to something that you created from your mind and you and took notes and made it happen. So that's chronically planned. Like as a mom, as a chronicpreneur, as a giver, a lover of life, um, it has to happen that way. It just has to happen that way.
I mean, I can personally test, and I know we've talked about this. I am, I have big visions. I have big ideas. I have big goals, but getting it out of my head and creating something on paper, writing down actionable steps is challenging for me. And I end up scrambling day to
Mhm,
day. And so every day it's like, okay, what am I posting today? Or what is my task today? Like, shoot, what's coming up next week? What do I have to plan for? And it's keeps me in this constant state, and I'm getting better at it, and you're helping me, by the way. But it keeps me in this constant state of underlying stress and overwhelm.
mhm. Can't do
And
that.
yeah, and as we know, as women with lupus or anyone with a chronic illness, stress is a huge trigger
Mhm.
for flares and fatigue. And so, how do you help women start to structure their days, structure their week, structure their month so that they can have those backup plans for if they wake up and, they might have had, three important tasks on their schedule for that day, but, they've had a flare. I'm too tired. I'm too fatigued to get everything done that I wanted to do for that day. So, how do we create flow within planning out our days, our weeks, our months?
So it's several components to this in my belief, and that is belief. You know what I mean? That is your foundation, which is faith, and having vision. You know, having because for me, it's clear that if you have some type of vision, then that doesn't take away, you know, the purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like what you actually ultimately get to. So yeah, I probably had a paid community as a vision, as a plan for like 2 years, you know? So it doesn't just because you wrote it down that day or for that week doesn't mean that it's gonna happen right then and there. You also have pace that you have to go through. Sometimes you have to become a certain type of person. Sometimes you gotta give up some things. You gotta let go some things. You gotta become things before you can even have what you're saying that you want. So it's a process. Um when it comes to me helping, I just help you get clear. I just help you understand and break down and brainstorm of what those visions and goals look like. So that way you are able to be very um not disciplined, but very like, super focused on what that is, like, what that looks like. Um, Very detailed is the word I'm looking for, because the details do matter. So it's like, okay, my vision, let's just give an example, we use the inner circle. I want a newsletter, you know, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to say, who I'm writing to, blah, 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 but I do know I want a newsletter. Okay. Okay. Well, how much of your time do you want to commit to this? You know, do you want to email once a month? Do you want to email once a week? Do you want to do it twice a week? Okay. I want to talk to women about this. This is what we're going to talk about. Okay. Then you break down it's just so many layers before you get to the end game. And that's why I said it takes a lot of peeling back and growing and becoming certain things before you can even get to the end result. Like my daddy told me that I was gonna be a speaker years ago. But he didn't say I was gonna have lupus. I was gonna go through these breakups, that I was gonna have all these children. Like I don't have 2 kids, but he didn't say the stuff in between before I got to where I am today. So it's always about the details and in between before you get to where you're getting to. So when it comes to planning, it's really just knowing the detail, clarity, being able to because I feel like I'm so passionate about it is because I do know the details. So it's like just do it. Like, cause who else is? Like, it might not sound simple, but I feel like when you know where you going, you go. When you know you need to get to the mailbox and you know where the mailbox at, you just get up and go to the mailbox. Like, it's it don't take that much. It's very clear. That Stanley Cup gonna keep your ice and your water cold, so you go make sure you. It's like the details matter. The detail is that this cup holds the ice for 24 hours, so it's it could be. I don't know. I hope I'm explaining it right, but it's all in the details. So getting clear about what you want to do and how you do it, and I just help you figure that out. That's basically what it is because I can't write it down for you. I can't make you do it. I can only help you get clear. And let's figure out the pace. Let's figure out your energy. Let's figure out what you have the capacity to do right now in this season. Maybe you got to unlearn something. Maybe you got to take yourself off of something. Maybe you got to be disciplined. Maybe you got to let go of person. Maybe you got to let go of things, bad habits. Like, I'll help you get clear on the details so that way you are able to execute. And we'll just create a plan together.
Yeah. And creating the plan is essential. But again, like you were saying, first you have to have that vision. And I think part of having that vision is also having a why behind it. Why is
Absolutely.
that vision important to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like I know for you and for me, part of our passion behind what we're doing with our coaching businesses is we felt the pain of being stuck. We felt the pain of
Mhm.
being sick. We want to help other women, especially other passionate, creative individuals who have these visions for what they want to do entrepreneurially. Um, we want to help them shorten that learning gap, shorten the learning curve so they can reach them sooner, right? But you're so right in saying that there are so many layers of things that have to take place in order to reach that vision, and that's the growth process. Sometimes we have to, like you said, let go of things, let go of patterns, let go of habits. It's that process of the becoming versus trying to stay who you were.
Yeah,
You can't stay who you are in
want to help their body and then eat bad.
right.
Like the what you do it is not doesn't matter, but how bad do you want it? That's always my question to myself. What's the other people like? How bad you want it? Because you're gonna have to get that up. You know what I mean? So are you gonna have to do this? You ready? Are you ready to pay? Are you ready? Are you ready to invest? Because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to invest something, put some kind of discipline, some kind of sacrifice in order to obtain what you want. You can't just write it on the paper and let it be some cliff notes. Like you really gotta like look at it and be like, do I really how bad I want this? And your why is very important. You're absolutely right. So knowing your why, getting clear is definitely a part of the becoming, part of the process, a part of being chronically planned.
And being willing to be uncomfortable in the process.
Oh, it's uncomfortable just not being in no process. Like
Right.
the the way this world going, everything uncomfortable. So I mean, we already uncomfortable. We need to get uncomfortable with being too uncomfortable. Like
Right. Right.
we so uncomfortable, comfortable with being uncomfortable. We just let it be. Like no. So yeah, like it's again layers.
Right, right. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we get, like you said, we're already uncomfortable, but we're comfortable with that discomfort because we already know what that feels like. We have to get comfortable with taking that next step into that next level of discomfort in order to grow and in order to work through things and in order to leave those things behind so you can become that next version of you, that next upgrade, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell you from my personal experience, I mean, I've been on this entrepreneurial journey for quite some time, and the layers, the layers, the layers, the layers that have had to be acknowledged, worked on, peeled through just to get to the point where I'm comfortable using my voice, where I'm comfortable
Mhm.
starting this podcast, where I'm comfortable, you know, having a sales conversation with somebody. I mean, ooh, it runs deep.
Yes. Look, me just being comfortable to be on a live or do like I was so like, oh, it made me cringe.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in here and interrupt the program for just a hot minute. You know that I'm so passionate about this podcast, but what I'm also really passionate about is helping women with lupus minimize their symptoms, boost their energy so that they can indulge in life again. So if you are a woman who is struggling with lupus, who is sick and tired of being sick and tired, who's struggling to manage your flares, if you're finding that your lupus symptoms are just really getting in the way of you being able to live your life the way you want to, I feel you. I've been there myself and I felt the same way. And what I've found is that there are a certain set of health fundamentals that once applied, will support you in your foundational health. They will support you in building and maintaining that energy, minimizing flares, and allowing you to, again, indulge in life and follow your passions. So, if that is something that you are interested in creating for yourself, let's jump on a call together. I will walk you through the process that I use with my clients to get them from sick and tired to strong foundation of health by implementing my Health Bridge protocol. If this is something you're interested in chatting more about, I would love to talk to you. Apply for a free clarity call with me, and I look forward to getting to know you soon. And now back to the episode.
So it's like and honestly, it just makes me more confident and it has because my belief is being built up. So it's like I believe that this next stage or season of my life is so close that when stuff start to happen and I'm just like, oh, I'm like, girl, you real close. You real close because they're trying to like keep you from doing it and stuff is trying to keep you down, but you this close. So it's like that vision being there is like, okay, I'm close. Don't give up right here. This is what because a lot of people give up right in the moment when they right there, and it's like just keeping the vision clear, keeping the purpose, keeping your why, and being like, just like, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want a healthier body? How bad do you want a relationship with God? How bad do you want to build community? How bad do you want a successful podcast? How bad? Those it's not even a why. It's like how bad? Like real bad or a little bit bad. Take it from there because maybe you don't know what you haven't discovered why. Sometimes we're in seasons where I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't really know why I feel like I want to share. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why I want to help people. Sometimes you don't know why, but just knowing how bad you want or desire something, desire, will get you there. So, yeah, I said a mouthful.
But you're right, the desire. And what I was going to add to that too is uh, you're saying you're so close. You're so close. It's gonna always training your mind to look for the evidence that this is working, to look for the
Mhm.
evidence that you're getting closer to that vision is
Yep.
a huge mindset shift because it's so easy, especially I think with chronic illness, to find the evidence of oh, I'm having another flare. Oh, this is gonna trigger something. Oh, I'm fearful of that food or, oh, and we're always looking for the evidence on the negative side. Well, if you can train yourself to look for and seek out the evidence on the other side of where things are going right, even if it's just like, well, the sun came up today, even if that's all you can find is that the sun came up today, that's still evidence that things are progressing. All right.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think having those subtle mindset shifts are huge in both your health experience, your life experience, your entrepreneurial experience. Um, and you've mentioned faith a few times, and I'd love to know, like, what role does faith play for you in this whole journey?
I mean, it's the only role, not I mean, because, I do believe in God, and I do believe in something bigger than me, and I just feel like sometimes when you're going through things, it's not for you anyway. Sometimes you are used as a vessel or a testimony just because, like, what I might be saying to you today probably touched so many people, or it could touch one person, and that one person go and get their life together. Like, oh, let me get my planner. You know what I'm saying? Let me get Chronically Planned because what she's saying that her joy, wherever she getting, I want that. You know what I mean? So that's all that matters. So having that faith and believing that I'm getting poured into in that way and being able to pour it back out, um, I'm just a believer in good things and that good things you do good, you get good back, you know. I mean, that's a universal thing. That's just a thing, you know. Whatever you pour out, you get back in. And it may not look like exactly how you put it out, but it could be that somebody else, you know, didn't wake up, but you did. Like it could be that simple. It don't have to be like, oh, I gotta, you know, because I like to say when people see people have things, you know, oh, she's smiling. Oh, her skin is clear. Oh, she ain't big. She is skinny. She, you know, got kids. She got this. Do, do you want my story? Do you want my story to get what I have? No. So go your own way. Go your own journey. Have faith and believe in what you want. And that's it. Like whatever you have faith in, whatever you believe in, you're right. You know, if you believe it's yours, it's yours. If you believe that it's wrong, you're right. You know, like so it's such a big component in what you believe. It's all in the mind. You can make yourself believe the most horrific things about yourself, about what you're doing, about other people, about life, and you are absolutely right because you believe that. So faith is everything. I hope that answers your question.
It absolutely answers my question, and that's something that I've learned myself is, yes, what you believe in is true, period, period. And that can mean like, I've had to go through my own journey with that, and that's why I always start with mindset with my coaching clients because I used to think that I was just very realistic in what I believed. Things were more black and white. Things were, you know, in regards to my health, it's like, well, I have a chronic illness that's forever, right? Well, sure, I thought that was just super realistic. Or I am not qualified to get a better job. I've never learned what it takes to get that better job. I'm stuck in customer service. I thought that was just very realistic. I don't know enough to be a business owner, realistic. But when it comes down to it, those are just stories that I'm choosing to tell myself or that I believe that other people have told me. It doesn't
Absolutely.
make them true.
Right.
It's not necessarily true that I'm going to have this chronic illness forever.
And like you said, where's the evidence?
Where's the evidence? Yeah, look for the evidence, right?
Mhm.
So, I think it's really important to become aware of what words we're saying to ourselves, how we're describing our own situation, and just shifting those things alone can make a huge change and shift in our health, in our life overall, in our success, and whatever we decide to put our feet into. Shadrico, how are you working with people? Um, what resources are you sharing with people to help them on their entrepreneurial journeys?
So right now I am offering planner audits and strategy sessions. They are an hour and we just kind of sit down and break down to get clear. Even like whether you're using a planner right now or not, I can help you strategize and come up with strategies to be able to be consistent. And then I also offer the inner circle. The doors are closed right now, but I'm reopening them up in the fall. So I will be having a waiting list coming. But that's pretty much just hold space for community, for that one-on-one with me with group. Cause sometimes somebody might ask a question that you didn't think about, but they're like, oh, that helped. You know what I'm saying? So just having that unit, you can attest to that of like what it's like because you're in my inner circle.
I am.
But those are, I mean, it's just a vibe, a planner party, a knowledge, awareness of different ways you can use things to be more organized and more connected with who you are, and just it's just all about awareness, really, um, and holding yourself accountable. So those are the ways that people can. I'm working with people right now, but I do offer some digital products, as far as a faith-based journal, and there's some other things that I'm coming up with, a chronicpreneur content planner for those who need to really just get clear in what they do as far as content and stuff like that. So I'm working on those projects, but right now I just have the faith-based prayer journal and just some free resources. So Plan with Your Body starter pack, where you can kind of like gauge where you are and cycle syncing and things like that. So yeah.
And you have a podcast.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Cause that's the all be all, it starts there. Yes, and I have the podcast formerly called Lupus Speaks, but is now Chronically Planned podcast. And you can find all these juicy stories of all these people who have life experiences and how they are able to change their lives and do something and be ready for them not to get ready.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm enjoying, I know your inner circle just started. We just started, and I'm really enjoying being in it and being in that community. Um, and your joy is infectious.
Yeah.
I told you earlier before we recorded, your smile is infectious and
Thank you.
inspiring. And this is something I think that for me was divinely planned because I need help getting more organized so I can streamline my business practices and really be more available to share more and to help more and to work with more clients because as it is, the overwhelm can get the best of me. And so I have my planner and I'm so excited to finally be utilizing it to my benefit. So, yes, I'm just so thrilled to have you here to share your story and your journey and what you're doing. Is there any last thoughts that you want to leave with our listeners on, you know, chronic illness, on planning, on visions, anything that we haven't touched on yet?
That it gets better. It gets better, and it's not as bad as you actually think. Because baby, when I was in the thick of it, I thought I was there. Whoa, like really, it's really not that bad. Like there's so many, silver lining and great moments that you're really not paying attention to. That's there. Like number one, like you said, I got my diagnosis pretty quick. You know what I'm saying? And from there on out, I had occupational therapy, physical therapy. Like a lot of people don't have access to that with no insurance. Like so it was ways that I was being used to get where to get to this point, and this is just the beginning. I haven't even done nothing yet. Y'all ain't seen me on the mainstream, but I'm just, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share my story. I'm open to great things, and so it's just like the mindset of receiving that openness. Like life is coming at me, but I'm still like, okay, but I'm this close. That's why. So just keeping that momentum going, even when you're tired, because we do get exhausted from trying to keep that up. I know I do, and I rest without feeling guilty. So that's it.
And we can plan rest into our schedule.
We
We
can. We
put
can
rest
plan
into our
rest.
planner.
We can. We can. Yep.
Love that. Shadrika, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So, as we close, are you someone that identifies as chronically planned? I would love to know if you are that person like Shadrika, or if you are coming more from my background, which is chronically overwhelmed and striving to be chronically planned. Like I said in the episode, there have been so many layers that I've needed to shed and shift in order to get to the space where I show up on this podcast every week, where I show up in my coaching program and show up on my Instagram feed to try to pour into other women that need this information. And It's been quite an interesting journey. So I'd love to know how and if you relate to that. Let us know in the comments on whichever platform you're listening in on. And, I just want to touch back on a couple of things that we are talking about in the episode, which is, there are things that we need to let go of when we are in this process of becoming. And we spoke to letting go of relationships and patterns and things like that. What we didn't fully speak to was letting go of really internalized, rooted belief systems that we may not even realize we're operating under. Things like shame, things like guilt, things like being inflexible, or a need for perfectionism, or a need for people pleasing. Those type of emotional patterns can really keep us stuck and be the underlying things that end up triggering autoimmune type symptoms, or just lead to holding us back from fully immersing ourselves into fulfilling our visions that we want to create. And I just want to let you know that if you are stuck in some of those patterns, you don't have to stay stuck, but it does take some attention. It does take building awareness to recognizing those patterns in yourself so that you can learn the shifts that it takes to create new neural pathways in the brain and let go of those old ones that are really just it's just a loop in the system that you're stuck in. That's all it is. It's not truth. It's not fact. It's just the story that you're stuck in. So I just want to give you another reassurance there that you can shift, you can change, you can grow through those patterns. I've been in that growth cycle for a while now. There's always going to be more layers to it, and the more you work on it, the easier it gets to take those steps forward. We do begin on this path in my coaching program because doing those mindset shifts is what made the biggest change in my life, the biggest change in my health experience, in my life experience, in my belief that I can actually help other women in this process in their health journeys. So I want to invite you to just connect with me. I'd love to hear more about your story. I'd love to hear more about your health journey, your life journey, and just get to know where you are at in your path. In the show notes, there is a link to connect with me on just a quick 10-minute call so that we can get to know each other just a little bit better. Thank you so much for listening in. If this podcast episode resonated with you or made you think of somebody else in your life that needs to hear this, I would love to ask you to just take a second and share this episode with somebody that needs to hear this message. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week on the next episode of the Health Bridge podcast.